What's up, guys? Playing a little game of EXIA here in ranked, just to try and talk about like why I think people think EXIA is broken and why they're right. Gosh, I hate it when people stand up there and just die like that. Such a valuable, crazy good choke right here, and we're gonna have to go play over there. So anyway, I'm gonna talk through that like as I'm playing and just show you guys a lot of what makes it really, really powerful. So this character is essentially like a dive, character. It has the ability to dash onto things, deal a boatload of damage, and then dip. However, it also has, when it has like the highest mobility in the whole game, right? Like extremely powerful, consistently usable mobility. And so what it can do with that is, like I said, jump onto things, right? So you can find a target in the backline you want to dive onto and jump into them. And that's what like a flanker should be, essentially. That's what one of these divers should be. A flanker diver should be that. And that's fine. However, the issue kind of becomes when you start being able to do like a bunch of things that you shouldn't be able to do. Like deal an obscene amount of damage from range. So there's like a whole assortment of things that this character can do. And one of those things is the ability to just deal a bunch of damage from range. Like as you'll see here, other characters don't have like, other flankers in games don't have this sort of like super fast, high damage abilities that like, or high damage primary fire that other characters, that EXIA has, right? But even if I'm not like using my core, like fundamental damage, like I'm getting still like a pretty decent amount of damage going. Now I just fed my brains out with my ultimate there, so don't look at that and think that that's the pinnacle of EXIA gameplay, right? But you can deal a bunch of damage from range. Like you can 2 burst a sniper. You can consistently finish kills because it's a projectile, but it's a fast one. And so that's really powerful. But you know, like that's not too bad if you don't have all these other abilities it has too, right? Like for some characters, having consistent long range damage is their whole kit. Like for example, something like Pale Rider, having consistent long range damage is literally its whole kit. That's all it does for the most part. It's got some healing too, so it's not like 100%, right? But I can deal like massive chunks of damage with this thing that I really don't think it should be able to do. Oh, I timed that perfectly. And so that's part 1, right? This is, and we're starting off with the thing that's like the least broken, just to, you know, get warmed up, I guess. There's an enemy. Oh, I knew you were there. And so that's the first thing, right? The second thing we're gonna talk about is the fact that it has so much dang mobility. Its mobility is absolutely nuts. I have 5 dashes in my regular base game form. And then when I ult, I get 7 abilities. And by the way, you get full like resets and everything for like when you ult. So it's not just 7, it's 7 plus the 2 from before, from the 5, right? Which by the way, after that, your dashes are probably reset too. And it's just obnoxious, to be completely honest. Like there's so much mobility that becomes like not as high of a skill character just because of all the damage you can output. Like that's absolutely just nuts, right? And so, like I said, mobility is absolutely insane. And like when you put this into the hand of like the high skill players, which is what I'm really afraid of when we get into like the high tier ranked, when ranked is all like fleshed out and we have people who have solo queued all the way up on these like characters like EXIA and Pale Rider and Gym Sniper and stuff like that. They're going to terrorize games. They will bully the crud out of the tank characters and they will just absolutely rule everything. And it's going to be miserable. And it's, for EXIA, it's in part because of just this raw damage, but it's also because of this mobility. They will ooh, that was rough. They will maximize the mobility. Like it won't be this sort of like, you know, you're using like 1 or 2 dashes per fight kind of thing because you're not that good at the character yet. Where the heck did this guy go? Looks like you got him. It'll be like full all the way 100 million% crazy levels of damage output going in, sort of just we're killing everyone in the game and they're crying themselves to sleep sort of stuff. Like you won't be able to hit these people, you know? Like it'll be absolutely nuts. And so that's a thing, right? Which I'm sure you've seen some of it, of just this like this sort of like, guess what, you can't hit me anymore kind of stuff, and I'll never be able to be hit kind of stuff, which, you know, like that could be one thing in its kit, right? If it's like basically all it had is the ability to like never be hit and just be sneaky and dive things and output damage. But with all of this stuff, what becomes really, really broken... Ooh, I need to dip. Nice try, bro. What becomes super OP about all of this is when it's coupled with the ability to bully things that can't move a lot, which is tanks. Because if I charge this bad boy up, I can then cleave through shields and deal damage. And that's kind of wild. Like, I'm surprised they didn't give it like a shield break too, because, you know, they've been just topping everything off, right? Might as well. But they have given it that ability too. So not only is it just not fun for the tank players to just have like just so many stun just slapping into them with a flanker of all things, like being able to do that too. Just slapping into them and they're getting ulted and all that garbage. But this guy among a few others has it on a regular cooldown, the ability to just blow through a tank. They can't outrun it, right? Which, oh, I was definitely behind that wall. Save me. Which is okay, you know. That's not the core issue if they can out-tank it. The thing is they can't out-tank it. So they can't out-tank it and they can't outrun it. So, how do you solve the situation? You don't really, you know, give them that level of you don't give them the ability to stun through tanks in the first place, right? Tanks aren't very strong in this game, like at all. Like, in fact, they're pretty weak. If they weren't necessary to have in a game, you probably wouldn't have them. It's just that the game is fundamentally designed in a way like that they are fundamentally necessary. And so you wouldn't play them, but you kind of have to. And so there's that, but then the real issue is just like, because of all the crazy mobility, because of all the absolute insane damage, because of all that stuff, all like adding together. Oh, I'm gonna ult this guy. I had to. Probably didn't kill that guy though. Ooh, that was some pretty sick tracking. Where we at? This will last so long, man. Like, hello? It's like a full 15 seconds on that bad boy? That's crazy. It might be 12, but... like, dang, bro. So anyway, it has the ability to assassinate, like, squishies because it has insane mobility. It has the ability to run away because it can't be punished for doing that because it's got insane mobility, right? Like, it's not like you have one dash like Genji does in Overwatch. Genji has one dash. And if you get a kill, then you get that dash back. But you don't have, like, you know, 20. You don't have effectively, like, 9 dashes with your ult kind of stuff. You don't have these 5 average. Like, that, it's insane. Like, mind-numbingly crazy. And yeah, I know, like, other things in this game have dashes too, so it's not, like... it's not the perfect comparison for me to use, like, Overwatch as an example. But it is still relevant, you know, because Genji was very powerful at the beginning of the game of Overwatch because of that mobility. Divers do have a way of making it so other characters don't really get to play the game because they can out... oh my gosh, I guess that doesn't stun. Because you can't out... because mobility and the ability to access high ground, the ability to control them, the ability to control all the space in the game because of that is extremely, extremely powerful. And so they naturally have that capability on top of like all that we're talking about. So anyway, with the ability to control high grounds, the ability to terrorize things that can't move a lot, all that sort of nonsense, there's honestly a bunch more on top of it that this character can do that makes it even wild. Because it can do all of that, but like 10, you know, like, you know what, 5 times as much as... I hear a Barbatos. 5 times as much as in other games. Yeah, there's no way I let that guy survive. Absolutely not. Maybe I can sneak on through here. But essentially it's getting all that, but it has the ability to stop the things that are kind of supposed to stop it, you know? And not necessarily stop it, but before, as a sort of flanker, you can only dive the things that are really squishy. But in this game, you can dive whatever you want. Dude, why did my sword cancel? But you can do it to whatever you want, right? Dude, what is this range on this character, man? That stuff's just totally silly. But it can then pick any target it wants. And so it now becomes a character that doesn't have to dive a backline. It doesn't like have to flank to get in a good position. It can then just start terrorizing anything that pokes its head out, right? Especially a tank. Sazbi, for example, should not be able to be bullied by something that's like, you know, that squishy against it, right? But it can. Not like, you know, so strong, but when your team's focusing and then all of a sudden the Sazbi gets punched in the face and then like a couple other hits of damage comes in, you'll die, you know? Like, I'm not saying it can solo a Sazbi because it can't if the Sazbi player is decent. But it's still like a rough matchup for Sazbi just because of the fact that you do get punched in the face multiple times, and that's just a thing that ends up happening. Did we kill that guy? And so that's basically the issue. Like, we have, not only do we have this insane sort of damage from range, but we have high ground control, movement control, and now we're bullying tanks. Like, what else does this character, like, what else could this character do? Like, honestly, what could it possibly be able to do? I guess it could heal, you know? Get out of here, bro. Heal me. Heal me, bro. No, please. I was gonna go ult. I could kill them all. See if I can carry this really quick, because I don't really know if I'm gonna be able to. Animation locks are annoying, though. Couldn't quite do it. So it's honestly just like it can do everything. And honestly, like they did nerf it from the network test, and it's still insane. They nerfed the cooldown of its dash and its charge slash ability. It needs to have a nerf to its range damage, and it needs to have a nerf to its ability to stun. There's just no reason. Why does it need to stun? You know, I feel like I feel like sometimes with the devs when they're designing the characters, they're kind of sitting there and they were thinking more of like what would be cool rather than like, hey, what would be a balanced addition to the game that'll make sense and not make people super frustrated, you know? So that's kind of the situation of what we're looking at here. It's a little bit rough, but they do seem to be pretty on top of this sort of stuff, so I'm pretty confident that they'll be changing some things. So we can just kind of have to wait and see what they do. If you're looking for some more Gundam Evolution videos, then make sure to check out my mobile suit guides. I made one for all original to 14 mobile suits, and I did a Should You Main Guide series also, covering the same mobile suits and talking about whether you should actually main them in Gundam Evolution or not.